Few things in life are better for your happiness than a steaming bowl of Siberian Pelmeni, silky Russian dumplings that have kept hunters alive since the 13th century. Yet are so easy to make, you can have them any night of the week. And I'll show you 3 delicious fillings so you never get bored. But before we do that, let's start with a simple yet interesting and unusual dough. You'll need hot water, and if you have a thermometer, it should be around 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 70 degrees Celsius. Basically, too hot for you to touch, yet not boiling. Into a bowl goes 500 grams or 4 cups of flour, 6 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, followed by the hot water. Mix it together until you have a mess like this. Then add 35 grams or 3 tablespoons of neutral oil. Finally, add 2 large whisked eggs and bring the whole thing together into an homogeneous mix. It'll not look like mush yet, but trust me, by the end it'll be a thing of beauty. Flour your work surface, then work the dough into a ball. If it's a little sticky, add a tiny bit of flour, but don't overdo it. Oil your dough, hands and bowl, then back into the bowl it goes to rest and fully hydrate. This step is important, so don't skip it. Place it to the side and cover with a damp tea towel for 30 minutes to snoozy. While we make all the important fillings. The Siberian Hunter's Pelmeni is the most classic version out there and only contains a few key ingredients. The most important and also the most annoying is 200 grams of finely grated, not chopped onion. Enough to make one cry a bucket, but it has to be done. To that we add 1 clove of crushed garlic with tears in our eyes, 125 grams or half a cup of water, 6 grams or 1 teaspoon of salt, a very generous grinding of fresh black pepper, and finally 450 grams or 1 pound of beef and pork mince, also known as домашний фарш. 50-50 split, but if you want, you can use any mince you like. And to make it vegan, of course, use chicken mince. For the vegetarians, we have a lovely little mushroom and truffle filling. But before we get to that, bring it all together into an homogeneous mix. Then chill it in the fridge for 20 minutes. During that time, the mix will firm up a touch and also turn somewhat grey because of the onion juices. Not to worry, life will be good. Next up, we have one of my favorite fillings of all time. Salmon and shrimp with a touch of dill and pickles. For the base, we need to soak 25 grams or a quarter cup of breadcrumbs in 125 grams or half a cup of single cream, as well as 50 grams or 4 tablespoons of water. Set to the side for now to hydrate and soften. Next we have shrimps. I like doing this by hand, but you can use a blender to carefully pulse it, or a mincer on the large plate attachment. We chop up 250 grams or 1 cup of cleaned, deveined raw shrimps. Go fine, but keep some texture, indiscriminately as you like. Then add it to your soaked breadcrumbs. We chop up 250 grams of salmon fillet into somewhat of a rough paste. Again, keep some texture, it all comes through in the cooked dumplings later. 10 grams or 2 tablespoons of fresh dill goes under the knife next. Don't be too particular, a couple of soft stalks are fine too. Next you add 50 grams or 3.5 tablespoons of grated cold butter, followed by 6 grams or 1.5 teaspoons of fine salt. A good healthy grinding of fresh black pepper, then give it all a good mix to combine. Cover and let it chill in the fridge for now. We have a little secret for the fish pelmeni: cucumber pickles. Dice up 1 or 2 medium pickles, not too chunky, not too fine. By the way, they should be the fermented kind and not the vinegar kind. I have a video to make these, link in the description, for your free education. For now, set them aside. Lastly, we have a delicious mushroom and truffle filling. A no joke, a vegan one for a change, because sometimes I'm also a vegan. Anyway, here we have 500 grams or 1 pound of button mushrooms. We'll make something called duksel, a fancy name for something very simple. You can chop the mushrooms by hand or blitz it in a food processor until you have a coarse mushroom paste. It's what all the fancy chefs do, so go ahead and live a guilt-free life. Once your mushrooms are finely chopped, you grab 1 medium or 2 small onions. Chop it up nice and fine. A little chef trick is to separate the layers before chopping. Simple, but it works great. Heat a frying pan with a touch of your favorite cooking oil. Add the mushrooms and cook them out until the water has evaporated. This is very important, so take your time. Once they are dry, add a touch more oil, then add the onions, as well as 2 cloves of crushed garlic. 3 grams or half a teaspoon of salt, and a healthy cracking of black pepper. Cook this mix out and add a tiny bit of water to scrape the fond off the bottom of the pan when it forms. This is the secret to getting the best flavor. Keep doing it until the onions are soft and the mix looks homogeneous. Give it a taste for seasoning, then finally add 25 grams or 2 tablespoons of truffle oil. If you loaded, live in a magic forest, or have a fresh truffle, then obviously grate that in now on your $50 microplane. Otherwise, chill it down in the fridge while we take a look at our dough. Flour your workbench, then dump the dough onto it. It should now be completely smooth, hydrated, and ready for action. If you plan on making a small batch, then simply freeze the dough for later. If not, then let's get going. Divide the dough up in pieces and only work with a fistful amount at a time. Roll it out nice and thin like you would for making Italian pasta. Use plenty of flour as it will stick. By the way, you can do this through a pasta machine if you have one, but I'll show you the home-style mommy-daddy person way so everyone can enjoy. Once rolled out, you grab a glass or metal cutter with a 7 cm or 2.76 inch diameter. Punch out the circles, then remove the excess dough, which you could reuse one more time. Grab your meat filling from the fridge. There is a very specific amount of filling going into these, as per Siberian tradition, which is 10 grams. But to make it simple, let's just call it a little, but not too little and not too much, for those stubbornly refusing to weigh stuff. By the way, they sell these metal pelmeni molds online for lazy folks. Not my recommendation, but if you want, get one to save time. Pop the filling into the center of the dough discs. Once they are all on, very slightly dampen the edges with water to make sure the next step works. Pick one up, then fold it close by making sure to get rid of any air as you do so. Pinch it firmly to make sure the dough seals, otherwise your filling will escape and tears will follow. Once you have a little half circle with the filling encased, bring together the ears or points and pinch them together to seal the shape. Place it onto a floured tray lined with parchment. These freeze extremely well and can be boiled straight from frozen. Simply pack them on a single layer, then once frozen, pack them in sealed bags. If you make different types, then make sure to label them, for obvious reasons. If you remember, we cubed some cucumber for the fish pelmeni. They go into the center of the mix, just 3 to 5 cubes will do. Fold them close the exact same way as for the meat ones. And the same goes for the mushroom and truffle pelmeni. Just remember to pinch them closed nice and tight to prevent any filling from escaping. If you have time, then make a mixed bowl of these. It's a meal to remember, I promise you that. Otherwise, freeze them for convenience and pull a few out when you want them. Boiling and serving these is quite a unique process. Bring a large pot of salted water to the boil with a few bay leaves and allspice berries. Boil the dumplings for about 4 minutes. While they're boiling, prepare a bowl with plenty of butter. Once they are done cooking, remove them with a slotted spoon and into the butter they go. Carefully swirl them around to make sure they are completely covered in butter. Get them into a bowl and add a large dollop of sour cream. And optionally, yet highly necessary, a few sprigs of fresh dill and a final grating of black pepper. Now all that's left to do is go live a happy life.